सर्वांना मनपूर्वक नमस्कार. सकाळी 9:30च्या सुमाराला मी इथे आलो आणि तेव्हापासून आता या क्षणापर्यंत या भारलेल्या वातावरणाचा मी अनुभव घेतोय आणि वरचेवर त्याची उंची वाढतीये. जे जे कार्यक्रम सकाळपासून मी इथे ऐकले, ज्यांच्याबरोबर संवाद केला, चित्तवृत्ती अत्यंत उल्लसित झाल्या, प्रेरणा वेगळ्या प्रकारची मनात उत्पन्न होत गेली आणि शेवटचं गीत आत्ता जे गायलं ते तर फारच सुंदर होतं. मला असं वाटलं की आपण भाषण करूच नाही. भाषण करण्यापूर्वी आणखीन एक गोष्टीचा उल्लेख करणं आवश्यक आहे. ज्यावेळेला इथे माझा परिचय करून दिला जात होता तेव्हा रामदास स्वामींचं एक वचन माझ्या मनात सारखं डोकवत होतं. रामदास स्वामींनी असं म्हटलंय की आपली स्तुती ऐके तो एक मूर्ख. मी आतापर्यंत शतमूर्ख होऊन गेलेलो आहे. असं न होण्यासाठी एक व्यवहार करता येतो, ते म्हणजे या सगळ्यापासून स्वतःला अलिप्त ठेवायचं. तसं ठेवण्याचा मी प्रयत्न करतोय. माझ्या प्रत्यक्ष भाषणाला सुरुवात करण्यापूर्वी डॉक्टर भागवतांना मी विनम्र आदरांजली अर्पण करतो. माझ्यासारखे तेही BG मेडिकल कॉलेजचे पुण्याचे विद्यार्थी, माझ्यापेक्षा 5-6 वर्ष ज्येष्ठ होते. ते रजिस्ट्रार असताना मी अंडर ग्रॅज्युएट स्टुडंट होतो. पुढचं औरंगाबादमधलं त्यांचं वास्तव्य, तिथे नवीन उभारलेल्या मेडिकल कॉलेजमध्ये त्यांनी केलेलं प्रचंड काम, या सगळ्याची मला माहिती मिळत होती. आणि समाधानाची गोष्ट की त्यानंतरही वारंवार आम्ही भेटत राहिलो. 2-3 वर्षापूर्वीच त्यांच्या घरी अत्यंत आनंदाचा असा सुखसंवाद करण्याचा योग मला आलेला होता. त्यामुळे त्यांना आदरांजली अर्पण करून मी माझं बोलणं चालू करतो. मूळ भाषण माझं मी इंग्रजीत या ठिकाणी प्रस्तुत करणार आहे, कारण सुरुवातीपासूनच मनात असं होतं की जर यदा कदाचित उत्तम मराठी समजणारे इथे कोणी नसतील तर त्यांच्यावरती अन्याय होऊ नये, आणि म्हणून माझ्या प्रत्यक्ष विषयाला मी सुरुवात करतो. विषय हा मुद्दाम या प्रकारचा निवडलेला होता. Some little background for myself. I was born and brought up in the city of Pune. My father was a general practitioner, a leading general practitioner in the city of Pune, and therefore I have remained in the atmosphere of hospital or medical practice ever since I remember. I used to find that my father was honored very significantly. I used to wonder why so much. That how can that honor will be transferred on me also. I was observing the way in which he was practicing. Those were the years of 1940s and 50s, when the medical profession had very little to offer. Mixtures of salicylates, aspirin tablets, antidiarrheal agents, at the most quinine injections, and nothing more than that. Penicillin had just arrived in late 50s. In spite of that, he was a matter of great honor in the society. I went to medical college. I took up surgery as my career because some of my mentors told me that I should go in for surgery. I had stood first in the university at my final MBBS. So there was no question which branch I could take. All the doors were open for me. But a mentor told me that if you want to go and practice in a backward area, you must remain a surgeon. You must become a surgeon, so that you can do anything and everything. Because I had already decided that I will work in an area where there is dearth of doctors. Therefore, some people may say, as a surgeon, why I should come over here? हमारे आंगने में तुम्हारा क्या काम है in this association of physicians? But I have been teaching, preaching that every surgeon is a physician first. I have been teaching in medical college for quite some time. I teach my postgraduate students in our hospital or our interns or our residents. I always say that you can't become a good surgeon unless you are a good physician. Physician plus little technology, technocraft, and you become a surgeon. So I chose that as my career. Something happened after I passed my final MBBS examination. My father took me to an individual, Mr. William Mascarenhas. He was a good friend of my father. He was the chief engineer of National Defense Academy that was constructed in that decade. He told me something which I enunciated over here. These were the very words he spoke to me. Look, young man, you are entering a noble profession. Don't act in any way that will tarnish the noble image of your profession. These very words are there alive in my mind, reverberating over and over again. And therefore, I have been experiencing my profession all these days, almost 55 years or more. Often I feel, what do you mean by noble? In Marathi, it will be called a udatta, wherein a selfish motive is lost. You are directed totally to your duty. Your attitudes are duty bound, social bound, and that's a noble, wherein self-interests are shorter than the interests of your work. I have often experienced these days in 50 years. Probably the noble word is removed at number of places. It has become a profession. Then probably the profession also has gone back because profession has got a lot of ethics. It became a business, and occasionally at places, the business has gone some more in a difficult situation as well. Years went on. Since I decided to work in rural area, I went to Latur because of some of my friends insisted for that reason. That was the area of erstwhile Nizam state, merged with the state of Maharashtra in late 60s, extremely backward area. When we went there, it was a small township of about 50,000 population, a tahsil place, not even a district place, about 75 to 100 years behind than city of Pune in every possible way of social life. It is now 54 years past that we started working over there. I find still our profession is significantly honored. I have been experiencing that. I always wonder, I used to think over, make a lot of musing over it. Why does it happen that our profession is so much honored in the society? There are equally intelligent people in other professions, equally hard-working people in other professions, much more money making in other professions, but why we are honored? That is something because we deal in the society that is extremely precious for every individual, and that is life. We deal with life and death. We are instrumental in saving, improving upon, or prolonging a useful life. Life is absolutely dear. As against that, there is something totally people don't want, and that is pain or suffering or disease. We deal with that faculty, and therefore we are honored so much in the society. Gathering this, a conclusion came to my mind. It is our bread and butter. Do we thrive on the pain and suffering of humanity? Probably it is true that we thrive on suffering and pain of the humanity. Unfortunately, while we are working, another aspect comes in, and that is the financial transactions related with our profession. We have to earn our bread and butter. Financial transactions are unavoidable. But how do we look at that? In every other aspect in our society, there is a buyer and there is a supplier. In a way, we are suppliers for the sake of health sake, and the patient is anyway a buyer. In any way, our law has made us vulnerable for the act passed away about 20 years ago, and therefore we are vulnerable now in the court of law from that point of view also. A particular thing here in our profession, that buyer has no relationship with what he wants to get and his financial status. If I want a car, I go to the market, and depending upon my pocket, I would buy a small Tata car or a Maruti 200, or if my pocket permits, I would buy a Audi car. Here in my profession, whosoever comes to me as a buyer or as a grahak in that particular language, there is no relationship between what he wants and what is his financial condition. Many a times they are in totally contrast, and that's the reason many questions have come up in recent past. Need and availability. The patient needs something, and whatever is available for him is entirely different. And this disparity has created lot of problems in our society. My profession should have serious limitations for how much I or we should earn. There is no doubt that we have a right on decent living, fulfilling the requirements of self, the family, and the responsible associated. Well, this musing has come out of thinking, experiencing for decades together, that in the form of conclusions I have put in forth today. Now, what about my practice in this context? I would say it is not my practice, it is our practice, because I never did a solo practice. We four started working together with an imagination that we would convert our practice soon in an organizational way, in an institutional way. We had never desired to have our own personal practice right from the beginning till this date. I am 81 years old now. Activity in a group or in an organization, in any walk of life, was the RSS preaching. Not only RSS preaching, but it was practice also in various walks of life. We chose to work in that particular way in medical field. We started working 4 people together with 10 weights, a mini OT, and a small 50 mA X-ray machine. These are the 4 people photographed almost 52 years ago. You may recognize me. There are dark hair still on the head. Now it is totally grey. We 3 still are alive. And my colleague over here, seen in the picture, third from my side, is Dr. Gopikishan Bharadia. He is sitting here in audience. He is the chief physician and founder trustee with me. We are working together for 50 years, and my wife still also active, having completed 78 years of life. Now these 3 have grown into a family of about 50 doctors, and these 3 photographed last week. You may be able to recognize still that some remnants of the faces 55 years ago are still remaining over there. We have now a 175-bedded super specialty center, gradually built up in all these 5 decades. We have a number of units. You can see the main complex, the central building, the oldest building, about 40 years old. One on the left side, the tall one, is the cardiac center. The other one, about 6-storied, is the building constructed about 25 years ago. And about 175 beds are accommodated with the super specialty center, and also having a recognized research center by the central government. There are many more things available. This is the one, the neuro care center, the cardiac center, having a cath lab and all other most modern amenities. This is the cath lab we have now for more than 8 years past. These are the recent advances: a 3 Tesla MRI unit, a 32 slice CT scan. There is a big story about this. This is known as AAPI Hospital, a branch little bit away from Vivekananda Hospital. A story will come later on. Something was told about it. In 1993, there was an earthquake near Latur, Kilari earthquake as it is known. About 10,000 lives were lost in a few moments. We were nearby, and therefore we knew that the entire brunt is going to come upon us. Before the world could know what has happened, Vivekananda Hospital ambulance was there on the spot within about 40 minutes to have rescue and rehabilitation. We converted our entire hospital unit into a rescue and rehabilitation center, suspending all other routine activities, not knowing what is going to come out of it. And for first few months, all hospital activities were in the relief of the patients or relief of the people who have suffered from the disastrous earthquake. Out of that, something good came up, which we never imagined. A few months later, Association of American Physicians of Indian Origin, known as API, they had collected some money to be donated to people who have suffered in earthquake. There were 7 months passed and therefore immediate rehabilitation was over. They met Mr. Shivraj Patil, who was then the Speaker of Lok Sabha, saying that we have collected $1 lakh to be given somewhere for ongoing medical project. And Mr. Shivraj Patil, as a Speaker of Lok Sabha, as well as representing our constituency as member of Lok Sabha, diverted all these funds to Vivekananda Hospital. Mr. Shivraj Patil belongs to Congress party. We all belong to RSS. He knew it. When questioned, he said that these are the people who will work for it. And out of that came up this API Trauma Accident Hospital, which served at least for 2 decades in a best way for various polytrauma patients. So something good can come out of a disaster. A new formation can take place. We plunged in then for the work without any expectations, but the society gave us a lot in returns. So many other advances took place in between, but the latest advancement is over here in the last 10 years. 10 years ago, Dr. Badve, chief surgeon from Tata Hospital, came to Latur, met us. He gave us a challenge. Would you start working in cancer? Actually, cancer work was going on. I was operating upon cancer to some extent, at least the preliminary cancer surgery, preliminary onco surgery I was doing. But he said that I will give you a Bhavatron unit. Would you be able to tackle it? As per our system, a challenge comes, we accept it without even thinking over it. So he brought that big elephant in front of us, put it in with us, about 2 crore. But then it requires about 5-6 crore rupees for build up this hospital, the bunkers and the entire cancer center. It was a tense, it was a difficult time, but we could go through. And since last 5 years, now we have come up with this cancer center. It's totally different, about 4 kilometers away from our main station, with big bunkers, now with a LA unit besides a Bhavatron, with a brachytherapy unit, and now in addition to that, this in addition to this Linac accelerator, the Bhavatron unit, and many other things, we are coming up with a big Rugna Seva Sadan. The radiation patients come, they have to stay for days together. Not only that, it's difficult for them. Most of our people come from rural area. Actually, in our district today, the district collector has declared that any and every individual in this district is a yellow card holder. That means he is eligible for free treatment. And as such, it is going on. About 100 patients are irradiated every day. Almost all of them get the treatment totally free in some way or other. And therefore, we decided to come up with this Rugna Seva Sadan. Because patients have to stay. They can't go back to their villages. And we noticed that in the nearby area, things were not easily available for people to stay. Things became very costly, and therefore, this is coming up now. About 100 people will be accommodated. At present, we are accommodating a few people, but total free diet for all OPD patients and for some indoor patients or patients coming for radiation and staying over there is available. A few more achievements could be done. For 20 years, we are running this Matoshri Vruddhashram. About 60 destitutes stay over there. Those who are really all alone. Family has given them up. Society has given them up. This has come up, a nice, very congenial atmosphere is there. People stay over there, and often we say, one of our trustees, who was mainly responsible for bringing this up, often says that it should be run in such a way that we all should feel staying over there in our old age. And really, it has come in really truth. Another important project came up, a Samvedana Cerebral Palsy project. One of our workers who got a child that was mentally retarded decided to throw up his entire life for this work. He placed for it. And in the last 10 years, this project came up. About 60 cerebral palsy or similar type of patients are staying over there. They are taught. And we know that all cerebral palsy patients or similar deficiency patients are not totally useless. They can live their own life. Some of them who have fair intelligence can do better work also. We have Stephen Hawkins, a similar type of example with us. And this particular project also has come up because of well-organized efforts and unstinted support from the society. We have been attending any calamity anywhere in the country. Hillary earthquake has been already talked about. We had a prolonged involvement, long time involvement over there. A village was totally rehabilitated. A full-time educational institution came out of that. Besides that, many other arenas are there. We have been working. A blood bank was brought up through Red Cross. Free treatment for social devoted workers have been there. Massive camps, diagnostic and therapeutic. I will tell an interesting story. We started cardiac surgery, close cardiac surgery as long as 1980. Some Pune surgeons volunteered. They would take very less money and work over there. We decided that why not make it available in the form of total free, in the form of a camp. And we carried out cardiac surgery camps, 5, 6, 7 mitral valvotomies a day. And that went on quite some time. These days now, mitral valve disease has become rare, and therefore this particular work has gone into extent. But we decided that camp surgery in a form of massive work could be done, and therefore this sort of social contact and making ourselves available best of the services to the lowermost of society could be done for long years because of the team that is working with comparatively less selfish motive, I would say. These are a few pictures of Hillary earthquake and the work going on over there. Another small work going on for last almost 2 decades is Warkari Seva. In Pandharpur, Dindi, our hospital ambulance moves on. A few medical officers are there, a few workers are there, and these sorts of temporary treatment methods are achieved over there, and people in the Dindi, they are helped in a significant way. How did we manage our finances? We had strict restrictions on the income of the doctors to begin with. Now they are little less, but even then they are there. And even for consultants, we would say that try and work in little less of remuneration. You have your all requirements fulfilled all right, but don't earn ad libitum or don't expect ad libitum. Then only donations could be attracted, and therefore we started getting good donations. Some of the good industrialists, I would like to mention at least one name, Mr. Badrinarayanji Barwale of Mahiko. I don't know how did he come to know, but he came to Latur. He saw. And all these almost 20 years till he passed away 2 years ago, he gave an unstinted support to us, having realized the way in which the work was going on. Of late, because of these achievements, central government sanctioned us a tertiary care cancer center. And therefore, expansions of our tertiary care cancer center could be very fast. And therefore, now a large number of people from the third and fourth state of the society are getting benefit because of totally free treatment, either chemotherapy, surgery. Oncosurgery also goes on in a large number, totally free of cost because of these achievements and these donations given by the various parts in the society or from the government. The extensive services through MJPJY or Ayushman Bharat also have been utilized at our place. Besides the ordinary ATG exemption, or for a few years, 3502 exemption. One thing I would like to stress over here, that in spite of being at a remote place, a tehsil place to begin with and now a district place, we did not remain far away from academics. Number of conferences went on where a paper or two were read by someone of us. At least I remember 20, 22 consecutive conferences. I'm a surgeon, therefore I enjoyed more in the surgical field. But in otherwise also, and therefore we have a recognition of scientific and industrial research organization. Right from 81 onwards till this date, almost 40 years passed. That every 3 years projects are taken up, they are presented, including Ayurvedic projects, and therefore the academic atmosphere in the organizations could be quite well maintained despite of the distance that we have from a teaching institution. It is run by a trust. It doesn't belong to any individual. Nobody owns the organization. All of us are, in a way, servants. And therefore, it's a public charitable trust in nature, in letters and spirits both, and practiced accordingly. We have now the 4th generation working. I am 81 years old, but now the oncosurgeon is hardly in his late 30s and working with probably the same devotion and dedication. What about my society? Some basic convictions are necessary for working in this particular way. This is my society. Ha माझा समाज आहे. If this particular conviction is there, naturally you can devote yourself because there is a sense of belonging, sense of affection, a duty-bound attitude, compassion, and at least occasionally some sacrifice. I don't claim that we have done a great sacrifice. Looking at me, nobody will feel that I have been starved or having malnourished, quite well nourished, carried out all the family obligations in the way they could be done the best possible way. I am in the society, I am nurtured by the society, and therefore I must work for society. I want to bring forth a few more facts which we all know, but it's good to put them blatantly in front. We are all obliged by the society in a number of ways. We learn on new patients. We experiment upon them. I operated upon patients in Sassoon Hospital and learned, committed mistakes, learned from them. And I make a statement. Please bear with it. No clinician exists who has not contributed to morbidity of a patient or even an occasional mortality. It's a blatant statement, but I believe that at the heart, everybody will accept. I accept it myself. I have often committed mistakes. I remember I have done hundreds of gallbladder surgeries, but at least thrice I have tried a common bile duct. It was a mistake, definitely. And out of these 3, one I repaired myself, one I got repaired from Dr. Srikhande, one we tried repair over there with a guest surgeon. Unfortunately, we lost the patient. I would say that my mistake percentage is 1%, but for these patients it was 100%. And therefore our obligation towards society is reminded to me because of such occasions. Can I pledge to remain honest with the science, to the profession, and to the society? That will solve a number of problems as we are facing today in the medical profession. The medical profession today has become vulnerable to judiciary. Why? There is no question that as compared to any other profession, still the medical profession is ahead in offering best to the society with benevolent and charity attitude. I will reiterate this because many times we don't emphasize on this. I met last year our Central Health Minister, Mr. Chaddaji. I gave a written document to him about this, that why we all doctors today are facing so much judiciary. Maybe we have some pitfalls, but they must realize that compared to any other profession, still the medical profession is ahead in offering best to the society with benevolent and charity attitude. But where are the pitfalls? I will give a few examples. Once again, becoming introvert. I do coronary angioplasty with a judicious indication, not for completing the target. Honesty to the science. I do it as much as indicated. Honest to the patient. 1 stent is necessary, I put in 3 stents. Will it be rational? probably this will be dishonesty to the patient. I charge for it judiciously, honest for the state of the society, honesty to the society. What the patient is affording, what type of patient is coming to me. As I told previously, that a patient comes to me, he doesn't know how much he is going to spend. He has come for acute myocardial infarction. His pocket is not really full to fulfill the needs, and therefore I must realize that I have to modify myself from that point of view. Let us all become introvert on this occasion and think of giving best of us to the society. It is my experience that I or we get much more in returns than what I or we deserve or invest in the society. Shall I reiterate? We get much more in returns. The future is now of physicians today. It is written down over here. In the city, I would say in the society. Today we are vulnerable. Once upon a time when we had nothing to offer medically, professionally, scientifically to our people, we had such an amount of honor. Now we have so much. We really survive patients in the best possible way. I myself see that as a postgraduate student, I would not say not even 20% of malignant patients were surviving. Today the survival rate has gone to 65%. We have so much to give to the society. So we are really eligible for getting best from the society, and therefore the future is now of physicians today in the society of tomorrow, depending upon the way in which we deliver our goods. Our forefathers have been directing us accordingly ever since the days of Hippocrates. The Hippocrates first told us, do no harm. That was his dictum. If I am not able to do something good, at least I should not do any harm. Then came Ambrose Parry. We all feel happy that I did a good, nice surgery today, did a good gastrectomy, did a good gallbladder. I feel elated. But Ambrose Parry tells me, I dress the wound, God heals the wound. Well, I am instrumental over there, but it's the nature that heals the patient. I must remember that. And we could not neglect the nature and its job or its role in healing my patients. Then comes Louis Pasteur. I do not ask you what is your religion or what is your opinion. I ask you what is your suffering. That is what Louis Pasteur dictated, detected, wrote down almost 150 years ago. So we are related with the suffering of the individual, and all other things, including the financial condition, take the back seat. I remember one of the good poems which we often chant in RSS, रूप रंगवा असोगंधही, ज्यातील माझे काहीच नाही, श्रेयाचा मज नको लेशही, निर्माल्यात विरावे, विकसित व्हावे, अर्पित होऊन जावे. I learned this from my mentors in the field of medicine. My postgraduate teacher, professor of surgery, Dr. Mrs. Mehta, used to work exactly in the same way. I learned it, mentor not only in medicine, but in education, in social life, especially in the field of RSS. It is activated in our traditional teaching to some extent. Let us see that it is activated in our then, and it is kept alive in our minds all the time. Whatever little achievement has been done is because of the team. Sanghe Shakti Kalo Yuge has been iterated long decades, hundreds of years ago. It is very true today for our profession. Our profession cannot work as a solo individual for doing proper justice to self, to family, to patient, or to the society. And therefore, this particular dictum, I believe, is a matter of success. I end this talk with these words. I am extremely thankful for all the organizers, especially Dr. Kulkarni, Dr. Akshay Chellani, and all those who have invited me, tolerated me here in this audience, and therefore I express my gratitude and take your leave. Namaskar.